Hello and welcome back to DeadMooseGaming, and today we are back with World of Tanks again. So today I thought I'd do a little review of the T30, the Tier 9 American tank destroyer. I've been playing this a fair amount recently, and I've been finding it to be a rather fun tank to play. So I thought I would combine a few small battles I played and use them to point out the strengths and weaknesses of the vehicle. Having said that, I will have a look at the statistics of the tank as well, so I think it makes for some interesting reading. Now we are on Ruinberg here and we are top tier, which allows me to be aggressive in the city. I like being aggressive here because you can catch the mediums that are rushing to the ridge off guard, and as you saw there I put a shot into the Centurion. Now this tank has 750 alpha damage, which is what you'd expect really for a tier 9 tank destroyer. Those big numbers are very typical. The penetration is also fantastic at 276, although any shot is not going to go through the side armour of an Object 430U like that. It does track him though, and he's going to feel the punishment there. It's not the most accurate of guns, 0.35 dispersion, but you don't need it to be accurate because you shouldn't really be sniping in this vehicle. You should instead be using its great turret armour to get right in front of the enemy and punish them with your gun. Despite the great turret armour, it is of course on the hull of a T29, which, while good enough at tier 7, is not good enough at tier 9. And as you saw there, the Centurion 1 had no difficulty penetrating my side, but I do punish him for that shot, finishing him off. Now, just like my Chrysler K video, none of these games are exceptional, but I do think they demonstrate the abilities of the tank quite well. And then while the tank's alpha damage is really important, you'd be forgiven for looking at DPM as the absolute ultimate figure for the effectiveness of a tank. But the thing you have to consider with DPM is how effectively can the vehicle relay this DPM into actual damage. If you have tanks like the K91 with exceptional DPM but terrible armour and other statistics, then they're probably not going to be able to utilise it all. Get a sneaky little blind shot into the Shah there. That's a new tank as well. I have no idea how to really face those, and I didn't really know they had an autoloader until this battle, which is why I'm going to peek for a little bit longer than I should here. He puts one shot into me, but I'm thinking, oh that's fine, I'll just shoot the T44. But he gets another shot into me, as does the UDES, so in a very short amount of time now I've lost the majority of my health, which is a problem to be sure. I have to play a bit more passively. As the Renegade tries to attack me there, I do angle in such a way that he's going to hit my tracks, and I avoid dying, which is fantastic of course. Now, these close city engagements are where the T30 thrives. Its aiming time is nearly 2.8 seconds, which is pretty abysmal, so you're going to have to spend a lot of time lining up your shots if you're trying to snipe, which is really not the ideal situation. And this tank used to be classified as a heavy tank way back in the days of World of Tanks, even before I started playing, and that classification totally makes sense. It's not a fast tank, it's only got about 14 horsepower per tonne, and its top speed is 35, so that's very typical of a heavy tank really. The view range is also not great at 380 metres, but I have boosted mine up to maximum, as you can see, with the use of good crew, optics, vents, etc. Unfortunately our IS-3 2 dies there, but the Renegade is caught off guard. I don't think he expected me to be that aggressive. And you can see here that I'm already up to 3.6k damage in less than 5 minutes. And that's the great thing about high alpha damage. You don't have to do that many shots, but you're still going to get a decent result out of it. Alongside these other gun characteristics, you have pretty good gun depression as well, at 10 degrees. And that can allow you to work ridge lines very well, which is precisely what you want to do in a tank such as this. As I say that, I put one final shot of damage into the Tortoise, ending the game for him really. That was kind of a lucky shot since it hit his track and it managed to penetrate all the way through. So that's the end of the first game. Let's move on to the second one. Okay, so in this second battle we are on Tundra, and unlike the first one, we are not top tier. You see my brilliant driving. People wonder why I haven't got a driver's license yet. So yes, we are on Tundra and we are going to the hill section here. I'm going to the hill in order to use my gun depression and my turret armour. Well, so that's the theory. Now, when talking about the T30, you're pretty much obliged to talk about its brother, the T95. And these vehicles, while sharing the same gun, are very different indeed. Looking at the statistics of both, the T95 has significantly more DPM, about 300 more at 2,564, whereas the T30 is at 2,234. Of course, this is about equipment or crew skills taken into account. The gun handling of the T95 is also significantly better. 2.4 second aim time instead of 2.78, although the dispersion is slightly worse than 0.36. The things that the T95 simply cannot do, however, is move its turret because it doesn't have one. And that is a great benefit to the T30. Having a turret gives you so much more flexibility, as you're going to see in this particular battle. So you saw my initial engagement there. I took one shot of damage away from the Object 430, but I did get shot by the Kranwagen once. Now I noticed that this TVP on our team is going to get attacked by 2 tier 10 mediums, so I think I should rush down here and try and help. Unfortunately he does die, but I do kill the enemy TVP with a slight high roll, it needs to be said, and I'm hoping I can get one shot into the Progetto as he tries to run. And sure enough, I managed to get one in. Although the accuracy and the aim time isn't as great on the T30, its soft stats while moving are also worse. They're not terrible, and it does allow you to hit shots that aren't completely aimed, at least somewhat consistently. It goes without saying that the T30 is also faster than the T95. Although it's 35 km/h top speed, it isn't exceptional. You've got to remember that the T95 is 20, which is not good at all, of course. Although interestingly, it does have better terrain resistance. I imagine that's due to it having 2 sets of tracks, whereas the T30 just has 1. As for the case of armour, it's actually quite interesting. Of course, the T30 has an excellent turret, inherited from the T29, with 279mm of frontal armour. The T95, however, has 305mm of frontal armour, and its side armour is significantly better. So it is a bit of a trade-off. Hull down, the T30 can do some good work, but the T95 is the ultimate bunker buster, really, as I'm sure it's apparent to everyone who's had to fight the T95. So I'm trying to get shots into this 430. The first one bounced, unfortunately, and I'm trying to find his outline, but I can't quite pinpoint it, so I'm going to move a little bit to the left. And the 430 pokes round, and I managed to put a shot into his capoda there. You see the scores are pretty equal, and that's when the T30 just drives around the corner and puts one straight through my gunman there. Now I'm assuming that was a high pen roll, because normally that shouldn't be able to happen, but he might have rolled slightly higher on his pen roll, allowing him to go straight through there, as of course it is 279mm. I put a shot into the Kranwagen, which is probably the most important target right now, and at this stage I am concerned about where the Progetto is, but he suddenly appears on top of the hill, and this is where the enemy team starts to crumble. I see this TVP's trying to back off. I do reverse, but unfortunately he gets nailed by the E75. I don't think there was anything I could do about that, but I still felt quite bad about it. As for any final comparisons, the view range is the same on the T95, and the chance of fire is also the same. I managed to put a great shot into the rear of the Progetto's turret there, and I pull away before he's able to react. The Progetto's being aggressive, and I'm aware that my E75 is backing me up, and he puts in a great shot against him. So this match is over for me. All that's left is the enemy E75, and I'm not going to be able to catch him. So in summary, as a comparison between the two tanks, having played both, the T30 is more flexible, with its better speed and turret, but if you're looking for the better platform, then I guess the T95 is the answer there. It has better DPM, better armour. But it's situational. On a city map, the T95 reigns supreme, but in an open map like Mananovka, it's really going to struggle. You can't just drive down across the field like you could in the olden days. You're going to get killed by HE shells, artillery stuns, and all sorts of things. So with that second game over, I'd like to take a little look at this third game, although it doesn't go as well for me as these two games have. Okay, so in this battle we are in Ghost Town. Now this is a map I absolutely despise, but unfortunately Wargaming has decided in their infinite wisdom that if you want to ban a map in standard mode, that's fine, but any other modes, no, that's a no-go. So I'm just going to have to try and put up with it, aren't I? So I get a shot into that object 257 there early in the game, and I'm going to try and show you in this battle the ability of the turret to bounce shots. But you don't always get to be in that situation. It's rather rare these days, in fact. Which is one of the main issues I'm having with the tank. It has decent armour on the turret, sure, but you can't really apply it that well. So I'm just going to be pushing up into the city, once again. City is where you want to be. And I'm going to come across a Super Conqueror. Now, I found that the most effective way of using your armour is to be above your opponent. So I'm going to be using those stairs to get a decent angle on the Super Conqueror here. Go for the drive wheel shot and it hits. And you'll notice that that Super Conqueror is just spamming APCR, and he hasn't penned either of his shots. So the actual armour effectiveness of this tank is there, but you just have to be careful not to get caught off guard. However, you do see there that the Super Conqueror manages to hit my cupola without aiming while reversing, which is unfortunate of course, but there's not really much you can do about it. And that is a huge weakness you have to deal with in this tank. It does benefit you sometimes that it's at the back of the turret, because if you're pointing over a crest or something, it makes it very difficult to see, but obviously that Super Conqueror had a good shot. So I'm just going to speed this section up here. There's nothing eventful happens, and really I just want to pick out a few important points in this battle more than anything. So I'm trying to see if that 257 goes around the corner. I'm aiming in, and that's when I get spotted. And I move around, and there's a Type 61. I'm assuming he was the one that spotted me, and I don't really understand how I spotted him, but I'll take it. So we know where that guy is now. And we're just going to be passive here. I really don't know how to play this map, to be honest with you, as you're going to see in a little bit. So I'm just holding my ground. There's not really much I can do. I am going to try and get some shots off into the flank there against that T54, but it's not going to happen. I don't really know if I can even get the correct angle there, but I thought I might as well try. I'm looking around, looking at the situation. It's 1-4, so it's not particularly great for us. 257 presents himself as a target, but also this T30 appears. I get a good side shot into him, setting him on fire as well, and he misses me. Now what I'm trying to do here is use that banister or pillar on that building there to hide my cupola, and it worked against the Super Conqueror. At least for 2 shots he couldn't find the target, but obviously the T30's retreated now, so I can take the advantage. Once again looking over that way, but nothing comes of it. And this is where you want to be above. I could get a shot on that T30's cupola, but I managed to sneak one into his hull armour there, and that's not going to have any difficulties going through whatsoever. And he's left on virtually no health, which is why I decided to load an HE shot against him, so I can just aim for centre of mass and kill him. But he is retreating, and he does get killed, and that's when the 257 gets spotted. So I'm thinking at this point, well, I might as well use the shot, as it's going to take me ages to reload. and it doesn't really do much damage at all. And you're probably noticing here that the turret traverse speed is quite terrible on this, and that's one of the drawbacks. While you do get the flexibility of the turret, it's not a proper turret because it is very, very slow to turn. So again, I'm speeding this up, and that's when I get a bit impatient and I try to push. But before that, I'm going to try shooting this 430. I do have the shot, but unfortunately I leave it a little bit too long and he escapes. And this is where my lack of knowledge of this map is going to be evident. I thought that I would be safe making this manoeuvre, but I was dead wrong. A Jagdpanzer 100 was sitting there. I did not think he had line of sight on me, and that's going to be very punishing indeed. And I just lose all my health immediately. I got kind of unlucky that I got tracked there. I did use the repair kit, but it didn't really help me in any way. So that's that battle done. And I think it's about time I move on to a conclusion. So, to summarise my thoughts on the T30, I think it's a very capable tank destroyer, although it does have numerous issues. The fact that it has a turret sets it apart from the majority of high-tier tank destroyers, and it really gives you extra flexibility when you're fighting in cities. An issue I've had with the T95 is that you have to turn so slowly that you can get perma-tracked, and with turrets that problem is for the most part mitigated. I also really like the alpha damage. It's very capable of just taking huge chunks out of tier 10 vehicles even, and the penetration is fantastic. You really don't need to fire premium unless there is an extreme circumstance. Having said this, it's not the fastest vehicle, and while the turret armour on paper is pretty good, there are numerous ways to get around it, shooting the cupola or even certain overmatch regions, and the sides and rear of the turret are not good, and the entirety of the hull is not good either. You're gonna, unless you're angling it extremely, you're not going to do very well. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this semi-review on the T30. I wouldn't call it a proper review because it was a bit more rambling, I suppose. And this is the content I've been enjoying, I think. Less structured and more free-flowing. So yes, I hope you enjoyed, folks. And I'll catch you next time.